out of the red corner, an undefeated mixed martial artist holding a perfect professional record.
What's up, everybody? This Saturday, October 19th, is UFC Vegas 99, Hernandez versus Pereira. This will be my full card breakdown. Timestamps will be in the description. Let's get right into it. First fight, we have Austen Lane versus Robelis Despaignep at heavyweight. Austen Lane is 36 years old, 12-5, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 6'6" with an 80-inch reach, 71% finish rate, and he's a plus 295 underdog. Robelis Despaignep is 36 years old, 5-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 6'7" with an 84-inch reach, 83% finish rate, and he's a minus 385 favorite. We have 2 massive athletic strikers. Lane, a former NFL player, Despaignep, a former Olympic bronze medalist in Taekwondo. I'm picking Despaignep by KO here. Lane is just there to be hit. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage to a much more technical striker, and I think that's just how that fight's going to go. Next fight, we have Melissa Martinez versus Elise Ardelean at strawweight. Melissa Martinez is 27 years old, 7-1, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'2" with a 66-inch reach, 63% finish rate, and she's a minus 155 favorite. Elise Ardelean is 32 years old, 9-6, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'3" with a 62-inch reach, 47% finish rate, and she's a plus 130 underdog. Melissa Martinez hasn't fought in over 2 years. How does that affect her coming back? Elise gets hit a lot. She absorbs over 5 significant strikes per minute. Martinez has shown a little bit of power. So I'm going to go with Melissa Martinez by decision. Next fight, we have Jessica Penne versus Elise Reed at strawweight. Jessica Penne is 41 years old, 14-8, 2-3 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'5" with a 67-inch reach, 46% finish rate, and she's a plus 130 underdog. Elise Reed is 31 years old, 7-4, 2-3 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'3" with a 63-inch reach, 46% finish rate, and she's a minus 155 favorite. Both ladies haven't fought in over a year. Jessica Penne's age at 41 and being on a 2-fight skid have to be factored in here. Also, how does Elise Reed deal with a 4-inch reach disadvantage? It's tough, and I mean, anything can happen, but I'm going to go with the younger fighter and Elise Reed by decision. Next fight, we have Joselyne Edwards versus Tamires Vidal at bantamweight. Joselyne Edwards is 29 years old, 13-6, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, 42% finish rate, and she's a minus 215 favorite. Tamires Vidal is 26 years old, 7-3, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She's 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, 30% finish rate, and she's the plus 165 underdog. Both ladies are on 2-fight skids here. Edwards has been in there with the better competition. Honestly, this is a coin flip fight. There's not really much we have to go on here, but ultimately I'm going to go with Joselyne Edwards. Next fight, we have Brad Katona versus Jean Matsumoto at bantamweight. Brad Katona is 32 years old, 16-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'6" with a 65-inch reach, 26% finish rate, and he's a plus 190 underdog. Jean Matsumoto is 25 years old, 15-0. He's 5'6" with a 69-inch reach, 60% finish rate, and he's a minus 245 favorite. Brad Katona is a lay and pray guy. He just wrestles and tries to control guys, but doesn't look to do much damage with ground and pound. Matsumoto, on the other hand, is a very dangerous guy. He goes for the finish. He's got 6 submission wins on his resume. Neither guy has a lot of power in their hands, but I'm going to go Matsumoto by decision. Next fight, we have Matheus Nicolau versus Almabayev. Matheus Nicolau is 31 years old, 19-4-1, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'6" with a 66-inch reach, 40% finish rate, and he's a plus 155 underdog. Azul Almabayev is 30 years old, 20-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'4" with a 65-inch reach, 55% finish rate, and he's a minus 185 favorite. In this fight, we had a classic striker versus grappler matchup. Nicolau does have tremendous takedown defense at 93%. On the other side, Almabayev has a 6.68 takedown average per 15 minutes. I think Nicolau is going to defend the takedowns well early, and I think he's going to have a skill and speed advantage on the feet. Ultimately, I think Almabayev is just going to use pressure and pace and just use his wrestling to try and implement his will. So for me, I'm going to go with the grappler here, and I'm going to go Almabayev by decision. This was a tough one for me, honestly. Next fight, we have Darren Elkins versus Daniel Pineda at featherweight. Darren Elkins is 40 years old, 28-11, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'10" with a 71-inch reach, 39% finish rate, and he's a plus 105 underdog. Daniel Pineda is 39 years old, 28-16, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'7" with a 69-inch reach, 64% finish rate, and he's a minus 130 favorite. This is going to be a fun one, and it's not a Darren Elkins fight unless it's an absolute war. Daniel Pineda is a dog. I think both guys are going to have some success on the feet. Pineda's a very real BJJ threat with 19 subs on his resume. This is another tough one for me because I know Darren Elkins just is always in the fight. Regardless if he's down, he's not going away. He's going to give it everything he's got. But ultimately, I'm going to go with Daniel Pineda by decision. Next fight, we have Brady Hiestand versus Jake Hadley at bantamweight. Brady Hiestand is 25 years old, 9-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, 64% finish rate, and he's a minus 155 favorite. Jake Hadley's 28 years old, 11-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 57% finish rate, and he's a plus 125 underdog. I think we're going to be in for a treat with this fight. I think they're pretty close in skill on the feet. Hiestand has a pretty good gas tank and uses it big time in all the grappling he does. I think if Hiestand mixes the martial arts well here, he gets the win by decision. Next fight, we have Charles Johnson versus Sumudaerji at flyweight. Charles Johnson is 33 years old, 16-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach, 46% finish rate, and he's a minus 210 favorite. Sumudaerji is 28 years old, 16-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'8" with a 72-inch reach, 64% finish rate, and he's a plus 170 underdog. Charles Johnson is coming off a huge KO win over Joshua Van in July. Sumudaerji's on a 2-fight skid. I think if Charles Johnson comes out and takes the center of the octagon and fights off the front foot, he gets the win. Sometimes he does come out and start a little slow and digs himself in a hole early. I think Johnson has built some momentum being on a 3-fight winning streak. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Charles Johnson by decision. In the co-main event, we have Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips at bantamweight. Rob Font is 37 years old, 20-8, 1-4 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'8" with a 72-inch reach, 46% finish rate, and he's a plus 215 underdog. Kyler Phillips is 29 years old, 12-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 5'8" with a 72-inch reach, 50% finish rate, and he's a minus 280 favorite. In this fight, I think Rob Font will have success with that crisp jab of his. I think Kyler Phillips will need to counter with some outside calf kicks. Will Font's age start to show a bit? Being 37 at bantamweight has to show itself at some point. I think Phillips will have a slight speed advantage, but ultimately, whoever dictates the fight wins, in my opinion. I think Kyler Phillips definitely has some momentum and uses this fight to inject himself into the top 10 at bantamweight. So I'm going to go Kyler Phillips by decision. In the main event, we have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Michel Pereira at middleweight. Anthony Hernandez is 31 years old, 12-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 6 feet with a 75-inch reach, 71% finish rate, and he's a minus 160 favorite. Michel Pereira is 31 years old, 31-11, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 6'1" with a 73-inch reach, 48% finish rate, and he's a plus 130 underdog. Michel Pereira coming into this fight is on a crazy 8-fight win streak. Hernandez is on a 5-fight win streak himself. This would be a classic striker versus grappler matchup. Will Pereira's explosiveness and power be the difference on the feet, or will Fluffy implement his pressure and pace? I've really been back and forth on this fight. I'm definitely split on it, but ultimately I'm gonna go Fluffy Hernandez by decision. I think Pereira will be very dangerous in the first 2 rounds. After that, I think he slows down and Fluffy can really use his pressure and pace in his grappling. Get Pereira down at some point and then get the submission. Let me know what you guys think. Question, comment, feedback is always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and until next time.